dream of you. The sweetest dream will never.
Here, I guess we have enough participants so we can start the session. Over to you, Yamini.
Thank you, Shivangi. A very good evening to one and all present here. I, Yamini Sharma, on behalf of the Fine You, the Mental and Physical Health Society of IGDTUW, in collaboration with Rahi, welcome Mrs. Utkarsha Jagga to speak on the topic relationship and its elements. A toxic relationship may negatively impact our mental as well as physical health. It is important to remember that harmful relationship is not just limited to our romantic partnerships, but is inclusive of the relationship with a friend, co-worker, or even a family member. Recognizing the toxic elements in a relationship is vital. It will not only prevent us from going in a loop of self-doubt, self-criticism, anxiety, frustration, but also help us to share positive and healthy relationships. Mrs. Utkarsha Jagga is a mental health professional working in the field as a counseling psychologist. Her current therapy practice is queer affirmative and trauma informed. She has been contributing to the field of mental health in terms of building which are safe, accessible, and inclusive. She is currently employed in Mumbai at Another Light Counseling. She would help us navigate through the various obstacles that we all face while trying to deal with the different types of relationships. A very warm welcome to you, ma'am. Over to you, ma'am.
Hi, I am Utkarsha and I am working as a counseling psychologist, as Yamini has spoken to you about. So we're here to talk about relationships, right? And also it's Miss Utkarsha, and it's okay, you cannot call me ma'am also. It's okay, I'm fine with it. But from what I understand, there have been like a bunch of questions that have been collected, right? So is it something that we want to start with? Do you want to start with questions and then we can take it forward from there? Like, because once we kind of have the flow from the questions, it does kind of help us to give this a shape.
You're very right, ma'am. So as in when we talk about relationships, there are numerous questions that pop up into our minds. And the very first question is, how do we know that the relationship we are in is a toxic one? Or how do we identify a toxic relationship?
Okay, so I feel like in general, like talking about toxic relationships is something that has come up a lot, especially with exposure to a lot of narratives, with a lot of access to information that has come in. We have been seeing toxic relationships, right? So we have to understand that when we are in a relationship, it has to be like an equal space where we understand the dynamics that are at play, including power, including gender, including whatever, like maybe even the different background that the person is coming in, and all of that kind of adds up to the power dynamic that comes into the relationship. Understanding that power dynamic and then working on making a relationship an equal space for both the partners, it is very important while we kind of try to avoid toxicity in relationships, right? And toxicity comes in when you don't respect your partner, or you don't respect their space, there is no trust, there is lack of communication, and there is invalidation and all of that, right? So when you kind of take all of these criteria and you talk about it, I think that is the one way of trying to avoid toxicity, or just like identify what toxic patterns might be. And a relationship might not entirely be toxic, there might be some toxic signs, and they can be talked about, they can be communicated, that okay, this is something that is bothering me. And also it's so subjective, right? For me, disrespect is the highest form of toxicity. For you, it might be something else. So it's very important to discuss with your partner what is it that entails toxic traits, and how is it that you can work on it.
Thank you so much, Dee. So I have a question. It is that how can we differ between attraction and love?
Okay. So I don't think there's like a scientific answer to this, but I think it's also like both of them are like love is a very strong feeling, like it's an emotion if we kind of look at it. And also, so there is this book called All About Love by Bell Hooks, and there's this quote that is very fantastic if it kind of comes to it. It says that, okay, love is as love does, where we have constantly seen love as a noun, but if you come to look at it, it's a verb. It is something that you do for the other person expecting it to return. So when it's reciprocal, when it's respectful, and you know that, like this is a space you feel healthy, safe in, I think that is something that you kind of can start defining love as. Obviously this definition will change for everybody, people might not agree to it, but something that you can start working with.
I would actually agree with that. The definition of love and attraction vary accordingly. And so the next question I have in mind is how many years of experience should someone have before making a judgment that an existing relationship is a long-term relationship or should be a long-term relationship? Like they can continue it to be a long-term relationship.
I think that's very, very subjective, like depends. And also, it's not job, right? It's not work. You don't need to have experiences because if it is, if you feel healthy with the person, if you feel safe with the person, if you feel like, okay, both of you are growing in this relationship, then you might want to give it a shot. And it's not like there's a cut-off criteria. There are no rules to it. It's not very like human beings, relationships are also very dynamic. So if both of y'all are growing and your relationship is growing with them, why do you have to have like a, okay, if it's like a 6-month thing only, then it'll be a long term thing, or then I'll consider. It's very subjective. If you feel like, it really depends on your emotions. And plus, I also believe that everybody is an expert in their own story. There is nobody else who can tell them that, oh, this will work better for you. Maybe there are people around them who care for them. They can give in opinions, they can give in advice, but they can't tell anybody how to feel because nobody has been in their position, right? So everybody knows what works best for them. It's just that, like, you need to trust your own story with it, right? Because everybody is the protagonist in their own story, in their own narrative. They have lived a life that nobody else had. So that is where you go from it. When you feel like it, if you feel like it's right for you, you go ahead with it.
Totally agreed on that. I just wanted to say if anyone has any questions, you can ask them in the chat so we'll address them. And if you want to ask them anonymously, you can just DM them to Shitaja and she'll ask your question. Yamini, go ahead.
You're very right in saying that everyone is the protagonist in their story. But there, in certain relationships, we have trust issues and people want to deal with those trust issues. So what is your take over it?
Okay, so again, depends on like what the trust issues. They might be coming from past experiences, they might be coming from lack of communication, they might be coming from just like not necessarily with this person, not having, like, if you have to trust issues with your partner, it doesn't really have to say a lot about your present partner. It can be coming from your previous experiences. And I think the one thing that obviously solves everything is communication. You need to be very, very clear in terms of communicating, like whatever it is with your partner, so that develop that sort of safe space with each other where both of you trust each other that, okay, I trust this person enough to build something with them, like even if it's not like for a lifetime, for a significant period in my life, which is healthy, and the other person trusts me back. So that communication basically. and
totally
being empathetic to your partner and knowing where they're coming from. Like if somebody has had a terrible experience with relationships earlier, they will come with some sort of, inhibition. So as a supportive partner, it also kind of comes on you to be like, okay, I get where this person is coming from, and I will also make sure that I am empathetic constantly with them. Because empathy then will allow both of you to talk it out and understand the differences in the previous relationship and the present relationship. Make sense?
Yeah, I do have a follow-up question to that one. So as you say that we have to understand our partner and be empathetic and understand the baggage that they're coming with. But for how long is that right? Like for how long do we take that baggage with us, Like if it starts affecting us, then what should we do? Like, is
In
it a
terms,
good,
give me thoda sa more example, like in terms of, okay, if you want to give up on the other person.
yeah, I mean, what's the like right time? Because we don't want to hurt them, right? And we want to be empathetic, but we don't want to leave them either.
Right.
And
Right.
there is this thing where it starts affecting us that, all
Right.
of these things get, yeah.
Right. Right. It does. That's a great question, like where you feel like, yeah, acha, theek hai, where do I draw the line where I'm not just like giving and giving without having anything to kind of come back to me, like where there's no reciprocal, where you feel like you're being extremely empathetic towards the person and the person is not doing a lot in the relationship, right? So at that point of time, it is also very, very important that you do realize ki at the end of the day, there's only so much that you can give. So there's this one very cool theory which is called a spoon theory. Okay? It says that everybody, like all of us, are have like a definite amount of energy, emotional labor, whatever it is within us, which kind of gets replenished every time we go to sleep. So every day you wake up, you have 10 spoons to spend. Out of those 10 spoons of empathy, energy, emotional labor, compassion, you spend it on the other person or yourself. That's for your discretion. So, agar your partner is taking away 8 spoons and only 2 is left for everybody else and yourself, there will come a breaking point, right? There will come a time where you'll be like, but I have no spoons left for myself at the end of the day. Or I have no spoons left for my friends or my parents or my family, anybody you're close to, right? So when you realize that there's a lot that is being taken away from you, obviously you will communicate. Obviously you would want your partner to reciprocate. It does not make you the bad guy, because you do have to kind of save on your spoons also.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. Thanks for that advice.
And obviously, like as anybody who has that sort of like say emotional inhibition or some sort of baggage, it does also somewhere you would expect them to work on it through therapy, or maybe both of you all together as couples therapy, whatever it is. So like you work towards reducing that either as an individual or as a couple where you're supportive, but it's not expected of you to do the entire labor without expecting anything in return, because that's unfair.
Yeah. Thanks
And
for
So
that
we
advice.
also have questions in the chat box. So
Okay, I think I'll read this. I
yeah.
have a friend who keeps his relationship of 5 years a secret and is known by only a few close friends. I find this really weird. I feel that he needs to open up. How do I address this? I am 21, too old for not wanting everything. And okay, I think that's the second question. I guess there are two questions.
Okay, so I think I'll address the first one first and then you can
Yeah.
read out the second one. So I think people do sometimes like to keep their relationship a secret because it feels like and understand the societal narratives also. Maybe it won't be accepted by people around them. Maybe they fear that if they kind of make it very public, a lot of their private time will be taken away from them. They might have their own reasons for not telling other people if they are in a relationship with somebody. But if you're a close friend, if you know, and I am assuming that that person would have told you, So maybe ask them, why is it that they don't want to tell the other people? Why is it that they're not comfortable in other people knowing that they have somebody significant in their life? Because look, also in our culture as young people, relationships have largely been associated with a lot of shame and guilt. And this is for straight heterosexual relationships. I'm not even getting into queer relationships because that's a total different narrative, right? So
Yes.
even for straight cis heterosexual relationships, there is so much taboo around it in the society that maybe there's some aspect of shame, guilt that might come in with it, that the person might not be comfortable with telling other people that, hey, look, I am with this person. Maybe they want to take their time. Maybe. And all of this is obviously like all of this is very like on an assumption. Because obviously, like, they're your friend and they would have told you. I mean, like, you can ask them that what place are they coming from if this is something that they want for their relationship.
So the next question, Yamini, would you like to read it out?
Yeah, sure. So the next question that comes up is, I am 21, too old for not wanting everything and too young to give everything. Is long-term relationships good for people of this age group? If not, then what's the ideal age?
I think that I don't think there is any ideal age for this. It's just like very like when you feel ready to do this, and there is no starting point that, oh, everybody around me is in a relationship, so I have to be in one. Because a lot of people can feel pressured to kind of be in that relationship, right? So there is no ideal age for wanting to be in relationships or not wanting to be in relationships. You can maybe, just like see whatever works best for you and then take that path. Take your time with it. It seems like a race. It is sold to us like it's a race, but it's really not.
Sure.
Yeah,
Also, it
totally.
has the second part which says, is long-term relationship good for people? So that's very common in COVID. Like everyone, mostly, like most people have been in a long-term thing, long distance thing. Sorry. So how do people manage that?
I think again depends very much on the person.
सारे
If
यंत्र
there's
चार्ज
any,
होते हैं मैंने चेक करने के लिए निकाल रखे हैं
can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was saying that there is also, again, really, really depends on the person. If they feel like they're emotionally ready for it, then they should go for it. If they feel like it's asking too much of them, then they're free to walk away from it. Very, very subjective.
Let's take the next question then.
Shubhangi, I have got a question in my DM, so I'll just.
Yeah.
So I got a situation wherein this person was in a relationship with a guy, and then she tried very hard to come out of it. So she says that how to get out of a toxic relationship. We are friends now, and he is still trying to control my life. I am just unable to shut him out of my life. How to address this?
So it's also very important to understand the idea of consent here, right? Because if the person, I'm assuming like the guy in question, is doing it without the woman's consent or without, whoever asked this question, their consent, then it's something that a boundary needs to be drawn, where, like it is something that they will need to kind of talk to the guy about ki, "ठीक है, this is a boundary that I draw. Shut them out of your life through different ways, maybe, like stop contacting them or whatever, like however you would want to draw a boundary." But like, if it is like, if there's still like there is some sort of control, like control is anyway never non-toxic, I'm assuming, because control takes away the agency from the individual. So it's very important that we do understand the concept of consent and boundaries here, because if the person hasn't consented to being friends with the guy here, or the person doesn't want to be friends with the guy here, it's very important that they draw, like the individual that we're talking about here draws this boundary that, okay, I don't want to talk to you anymore, or I want to reduce the communication, or this is how I will, or maybe, like, stop sharing information that can be controlled. Because if you feel like somebody is controlling you without your consent, then you stop giving information, you withhold information, because the lesser information they'll have to control, the lesser control they will exercise on you. Does that make sense?
Makes sense. Yeah, it does. It does. Also, she says that what to do when the other, the other person blackmails like emotionally. Like, we were in a relationship and I need to know things. And so, sometimes she gives in. So, how to deal with that?
Okay, so if it is getting extremely emotionally exhausting for you, it might not be the worst idea to involve somebody else in that dynamic where you might want to reach out for help, because blackmail is never okay. To a point, I feel like, yeah, like it's never okay. And if you have common friends, maybe reel them in. If you want to block this person, like, you can obviously block them out, like actually block them on WhatsApp or Instagram or wherever you're connected, right? So again, control the information that is going out. Blocking is, again, sometimes I feel like a lot of us don't take blocking very liberally. It feels like, oh, we'll be weak if we block the other person. Doesn't matter. Your emotional health is over everything else. Your emotional health is over what they think of you. If you feel comfortable in blocking or restricting them for your life, from your life, do it. It will not make you weak. It will not make you somebody who loses the breakup. Make sense?
Totally. Thanks a lot. This is actually, very powerful line. Your emotional health is above everything. So yeah, thanks. So we also got a comment here, like from someone, that he says that blocking is an option. I was that controlling kind of guy, and that's the right thing to do. I can't tell her that now, obviously. So yeah. So we also got a few confessions. Sure, Yamini, you can go with the form now.
Okay, I do have one question. There's a question that love life error 404. What to do? Like there's no love life they expect, and they literally want someone as of
Sorry, I lost your voice. Can you repeat it? I'm really sorry.
Okay, I'll repeat it. Love life is equal to error 404. What to do?
Okay, maybe ask yourself, what is it that having a love life means to you? What significance does it hold for you? What is the meaning of having somebody in your life? Do you want it, or are you forced to think that at this age and time you should have a partner? You should have somebody in your life. So, maybe reflect, just sit with this question, that what is it that having a love life means to me? And how would I want it to look like?
Okay, we do
That's
also have a
a great.
follow-up question. I got a direct message. What to do if your partner is too possessive? If he has problems with me having boundaries and not sharing everything, people I hang out with, how much time I spend with my family or friends?
Then maybe, again, try to communicate with this with them, that why is it that they want itna sara information about everything that you do. Maybe some reason, and when that reason is explained, you can give in a counter reason as to why that is or is not fair, and then it can be talked out.
But sometimes I think that it's just nature, that some people are possessive by nature. Then what should a person do in that case?
So nature also develops as a result of our experiences, right? maybe being possessive serves them something. And if that is something that you can talk about, get professional help, go to therapy, maybe that is when that nature will change. The thing about human nature is that it's dynamic, it's never final.
Very true. So in this COVID scenario, it was quite difficult to tackle with various things. We all enjoyed reading books, maybe seeing some movies. So what movies or books do you suggest for just have an insight in relationships or to have a good insight towards life as a whole? A generic question, maybe.
Right, maybe like the one book that I do recommend to everybody is obviously there's this book called All About Love by Bell Hooks, and it's a great book if you want. It's a non-fiction book, and if that is something that you non-fiction is something that you like reading, and it's like basically theory of how we see love and we see relationships in our life and how we see not just romantic relationships but all relationships. That book does help a lot. And then there's this person called Esther Perel, and she's an amazing couples therapist. Like, she has done so much work in the area of couples therapy. Her TED talks are amazing. So if that helps, so that, and I think you can share it in the chat. It's All About Love by Bell Hooks and TED Talks by Esther Perel.
Thanks a lot. So the other question is, like, being in a relationship can have like a jealousy. Okay, I have a question. Like, being in a relationship can have like jealousy and being affected by the actions of other person. So one should always trust the other person in the relationship, right? But sometimes just fails to do so. As an hypothetical example, he wants to go out with a friend who is a girl, and they just met like 1 2 months back, and the girl is in the relationship with and the girl is in relationship with the girl, feels weird about it but doesn't want to impose her decision in a relationship so that it stays positive. I guess, Utkarsha, you should have a look at this question, because if I'll read like this, you won't be able to understand.
Yeah, I'm not understanding. Where is this question?
Okay, I'll just resend in the chat box.
Yeah, please do.
Okay, fine.
Okay, being in a relationship. Okay, I'll mute myself and read. I still don't understand this question. Like, who is the person who's being insecure here? And
What I get is she's asking if your partner wants to go out with another girl who he met 2 3 months back, and the girl who's his partner, like, what should she do in this situation? And they started, if she doesn't want to be imposing, but she also wants to say that don't go out with this girl.
Right. So if you feel like this, if you feel like there is something bothering you about your partner meeting other people, meeting newer people, then maybe, obviously ask yourself, why is it that it is, bothering you? Ask yourself what it is that kind of about their relationship is something that is not great or something that you don't approve of, and then talk it out with your partner and see if there holds some truth to it, right? And it is obviously like a very natural reaction. Like, jealousy is a very, very natural emotion, but also see that it is coming from probably some experience in the past, because of the media, because of whatever narratives that you have been exposed to. So maybe ask yourself, what does it mean if this person, like my partner, is going out with another girl that he's met a month or two ago, and how is it that I want to take it up with because obviously, like, when this emotion will get processed between both the people instead of just boiling up inside of one person, it will be a healthier way to kind of look at it.
Sounds like a
Makes
great
sense.
answer. Yeah. Anyone else have a question or wants to read out?
Yeah,
So
I
I
do
sent
have.
another question. Yeah, sure, go
Sorry for interruption. Okay, so I do have one confession that the girl sent to me, that she have a very good male friend, but matlab, he had a girlfriend, so they wanted to keep them as friends only, like a brother and a sister maybe. But then he broke up with that girlfriend, and as of now he also have a new girlfriend. But now they like they're the best friends and they do share everything with each other. But the girl is secretly in love with the guy, like she likes the guy, and she in all she want to say that should she let it go, like or should she confess him?
Wait, no, the person is in love with their best friend. Is this
Yeah,
the
kind of. Yeah.
right? Okay. So again, very individualistic. It's very like, if you want to kind of like also see, that whenever we are attracted or when we fall in love with somebody, when we want somebody in our life, it's also because maybe they bring out a part of us that we have never met before or we have never seen before, like how we are different with different people. Okay, yeah, the way we are different with different people, being with somebody might bring out a version of us that we never knew existed. And sometimes that version seems so nice that we don't want the other person to leave us, just because we want this version to stay. And in all of this, we forget to remember that this version is ours to keep. The other person might enable this version, but it's still something that stays within us. So even if the other person is not there in your life, this version is not going anywhere. This is something that is in you. This is something that you are. It might come out in different situations, or you might know what it is that is used to enable that version, and you become comfortable with it enough to not need another person to kind of bring this part out of yours. Make sense?
Yeah, totally.
So certain people are just direly wanting to be in a relationship. They just want a relationship. They just don't know what or how about it's going to be, but they just want a relationship. So how to tackle with such people?
Again, so okay, I have a question which is directed to me, like Sida. I'll answer that later. But yeah, if you want to be in a relationship, please question that where is it that your ideas are coming from. Is it solely out of the need that everybody around me is in a relationship? Is it because books and Bollywood have constantly told me that I can only find happiness if I'm with somebody? Is it because I have genuinely enjoyed being in relationships and I would want to find other people who I can have a nice time with? Can come from different motivations. So maybe ask yourself this, that where it is that your ideas of relationships and how is it that you see relationships, where all of it is coming from. Make sense? Okay, the question that I got is that if the guy I'm talking to just wants to talk whole day and wants me to give him all my time if I'm not studying, when I don't agree to it, he makes me feel guilty about it. So maybe this is something that you need to communicate and draw a boundary here, where you know you tell the other person that just because you're not talking to them the whole day doesn't mean that they hold lesser importance in your life. And like all of this kind of just doesn't, like, there's just सिर्फ एक तरीका नहीं है जिससे you can kind of express affection. There are other ways of spending time. There are other ways of kind of being in a relationship. That. And I have other questions too. Okay, trigger warning, this thing talks about PTSD. If you want to kind of leave, you might. The person says that my boyfriend has PTSD, so he's extra possessive and extra insecure. We communicated about it, we are open about everything, but he's still insecure. He even takes therapy, but insecure about pretty much every guy in my life. I totally understand his insecurity, but sometimes I feel like it's too much. I even opened up about this. He said he'll try his best to not be that insecure, but he still is. We talk out everything, but when he's insecure of no reason, I don't really like that. I am also insecure, but up to a point that I understand it, and I hate his girl best friend. Maybe this is something then, this emotion, this feeling is something that you really need to sit with. That if this relationship is taking so much away from you in terms of emotional labor, and kind of your feelings are not being reciprocated, or your effort is not being reciprocated, then maybe you would want to reflect on this. Because like I said, the spoon theory, there's only so many spoons you can give out to somebody else. There has to be a certain amount of energy that needs to be left for yourself, or else you'll constantly be exhausted, and that's not something that we want, right? Make sense? Okay, there's another question. How do you get yourself out of the aftermath of a relationship in which you've connected on an emotional deep level, but things couldn't work out? Okay, wait. Also, the person is hot and cold, as in it's been a long since it ended. We recently had this conversation where we were both like we couldn't find anyone else with whom we connected on that level. We had this conversation after 1 year of ending, and then he went back to his best friend girlfriend law. Okay. Okay. So again, ask yourself that why is it that you want this person to be in your life? What is it that they contribute? What is it that they make you feel that you felt like it can't be there from anybody else? And when you know it, then see ki, theek hai, is this person the only resource or only source of that feeling, or you have other people in your life who might make you feel that way? Because a lot of time what we do in relationships is like a sense of codependency develops, where we feel like everything that the person makes us feel, it's only this person that can make us feel that, or all of our moods are dependent on the other person's mood. Like this person said that he's hot and cold, which means that the moment will be nice, like the other person will be nice to them, they will feel nice about everything. The time the other person kind of shuts out, they will feel terrible about everything. If this sense of codependency is developed, there needs to be some sort of boundary where you do need to take care of yourself, and you need to prioritize your mental health over anything else. Okay, there are way too many questions. How much time do we have? 17 minutes. Cool. Um, Please talk more about this best friend thing. What's the need for insecurity about other people being important too? It's a good point. Like, why do you feel like other people being important in your partner's life reduces your importance in their life, or reduces your priority in their priority list? It might not be this way. And in fact, it's great to have like a good support system, right? Because if there's only one person in your life, and if by chance you lose that person, your entire support system kind of crumbles. And this is how codependency develops. So it is kind of healthy to have other people in your life who are important too, and not just like one person. Okay. I have a question. Is this wrong if someone is having a relationship and they talk to their ex as a friend? If this is not wrong, that how do I tell my partner, जिसे उसे trust हो मुझ पर, that I'm not cheating them? I think you like if you feel like there is like, obviously, like communication is important, and if you know that there is this trust that exists between you and your partner, telling them that okay, I am only talking about to my ex as a friend, and they also need to kind of understand that it's coming from a place where okay, ask again, explain it to them that why is it that this friendship needs to exist, or this friendship adds to your life, or this friendship is important to you. Because once you give them the reason, maybe that can make them feel more secure. Make sense? Okay, there's another question. I have a very weird question. We have been in a relationship for 7 years. It's going good and serious. Few days back, I read a quote somewhere. Don't let your current boyfriend stop you from searching your future husband. Interesting. I feel like this is a very pop Instagram quote. And I'm sure like this person was mostly ironic while they were looking at it or writing it. But also, I feel like in some way, this means that, okay, if you are not happy in your relationship and if that is not great, then it's okay to walk out of it the moment you feel like it. But I'm sure that this is some sort of like a jokey sense of it, where it's a meme and not something very serious. Difference between love and attraction. I think we did that. We did that, right? Okay. How to deal with your boyfriend when you keep your ego in front of your attraction? Like your ego or your boyfriend's ego? I think you have to also understand that ego, as we know it, is also like a kind of a defense. So why do you feel like you need to protect yourself when you are in that relationship? Why do you feel like, what is it that you're protecting yourself from when you're in that relationship? That is an important thing that you have to reflect upon and then see that, okay, am I scared of losing something? I'm scared of being hurt. Am I scared of losing this person? Which is why keeping this defense helps me not feel weak, because a lot of times we are conditioned into thinking that, oh, emotions will make you feel weak, which is not necessarily true, right? Because emotions are great, guys. Feel your emotions. Okay, I have a question. Is it wrong if someone is having a relationship? I think this is done. Can a person be busy for a whole day, 10 minutes to talk to their partner? Is it possible? If it is happening too often, you might want to reflect upon why is it that it is happening. And as much as there is work, like as much as work is important, if you're with somebody, it's equally important to give them time, even if it is like 10-15 minutes in a day. Because this is true for every relationships, right? That you have to give your friends, your family, your partners the kind of time that they need, or some sort of quality time, so that that relationship prospers. If you don't give the other person time, it might not be a great thing to do.
But like, I have a follow-up question to this. Like,
Hmm.
sometimes you're not in that headspace after, working all day to give your partner some time and you
Yeah,
just want
but
to be alone. So,
yeah,
like,
that is true. Yeah,
yeah.
maybe this can happen like twice, thrice, 4 times in a week. That's okay. But you can at least tell your partner that me not talking to you doesn't mean that I'm not feeling the same about you. So just communicate why is it that you're doing something.
Okay. And I have
But,
one more question. Yeah, Dee, go ahead, please, Dee.
okay, sorry. So there's also confession to the in the same line that she's saying that should I leave it on the same context, that I can give time, but I don't want to. I want my own space on a daily basis. For example, on a daily basis. So should I leave him or not? Because I am actually doing wrong with him. That maybe she's guilty enough that she's doing wrong with him. So she should leave him or not.
Again, having your own space or prioritizing your mental health is not something that's a terrible thing to do. But if you feel like you don't want to give the other person time, if you feel like you're not able to make time for them, if you feel like you're being unfair to them, maybe then you reflect upon that, where is this coming from? Where is this kind of, is it that you don't want to do it? Is it because the circumstances are hard enough? Is it because the other person doesn't seem like, like if there is no sort of like any kind of affection left? And if any of this is the case, communicate. Tell them why is it that this is happening. Okay, so how to get rid of people pleasing? It becomes very difficult for me to set proper boundaries. That is very, like, again, people pleasing is rooted in so many things. Like, we are never taught that boundary setting is important, because we always thought that, okay, like you have to do everything, like everybody's You have to be empathetic towards everybody else. You have to care for everybody else. Make sure you take care of everybody else's needs. And it's also so cultural, right? Like in our society, we grow up with the idea that everybody else is important and you are not, or their needs are above your needs, or you give them compassion, but there's nobody who will give you compassion. So you kind of start thinking in that way. You start thinking that, oh, if I say no to the other person, they'll feel bad. But the thing that we don't understand is that boundary setting is essential, or else the only thing that you'll do is give in a relationship and never. Okay, can you give me 1 second? I'll just come back. Give me 1 second.
Okay, guys. So thanks a lot for joining, and we're loving how you guys are asking questions. So if we are not able to, keep up some of the questions, you can maybe ask us again. And meanwhile, I would just like to tell that please follow us on Instagram for more such sessions. And I have dropped the link in the chat session. So yeah, Karsha is here. Let's continue.
Right. So I was saying about boundaries, like how we are constantly taught that, okay, you have to please people just because they're older, or they are senior, or they have, again, different power dynamics that exist, that, oh, you are not important, everybody else is. And it takes a lot of time to unlearn that, because all of us grow with a certain kind of idea. We've grown up in the certain kind of environment. It is very tough to unlearn that, but also equally important, right? Because if we don't unlearn it, again, we'll give with no expectations in return, and that's not very healthy.
Hi, can I put up a question, please?
Yes. Okay.
Okay,
Where are
my
you?
name is Kushi. I want to ask you, like, here we are talking about a bond between a male and a female, or a woman or a man. So
Hmm.
my question to you is quite personal. I want to talk about my sister. She's my cousin sister. She and her mother, both of them have a very dysfunctional relationship, like a very toxic relationship. Her mother loves her, she loves her mother, but they together fight a lot. They
Hmm.
literally yell at each other.
Hmm.
I'm not saying both of them are not understanding to each other. They are quite
Hmm.
compatible, but at times the relationship or the fight becomes so toxic that my sister leaves her house for a week. So
Hmm.
how? What suggestion can I give to her or to her mother?
Maybe for both of them separately, because if it is getting to a point where it is impacting their mental health so much, I would actually recommend professional help, because it can get taxing for you also after a point of time, and nobody has the emotional capacity to kind of take on to so many people's emotions. So therapy, please seek professional help. That will really help.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I have a question. Yeah, so if you're in a serious relationship and you
Hmm.
still get attracted to others, like very casually, कि वो बहुत cute है, and things like that, but other get insecure of that thing. So, what are your comments on that?
I feel like attraction is very normal. It's not something that you can stop yourself from feeling. It's not something that is wrong also, as long as the other person, both of you all, are secure in your relationship and know that this sort of like a, if you know that okay, my attraction to anybody else doesn't mean that the other person is low on my priority list. And this is an understanding that both of you all need to have between, because it can't be like, oh, if I'm with somebody, I won't find anybody attractive. There are people who are attractive. There are people you will be attracted to. It's not wrong at all. It's a
Well,
very
I'm the one
natural
who asked. Yes, I'm the one who asked the PTSD question. So related to that, I mean,
Hmm.
if I tell him, actually, I pretty much tell him everything. But now, if I tell him that, a guy texted me and stuff like that, so he would get insecure and like a lot insecure. So, what are your thoughts on this? What should I do?
So then maybe, the communication or the reflection that needs to happen is that what about it makes, obviously, like, I'm sure there is some sort of previous experiences. Like you said, there is a diagnosis of PTSD, I'm assuming. maybe because of the past experiences, this is the reaction. So maybe work on developing the differences in the past and the present. Maybe work on developing how your relationship is different from every other relationship that he has had in the past, and things will not turn out to be the same. Maybe this can help. And obviously, again, a lot of the answers end in therapy. Like professional help does kind of, it just adds a perspective. It helps because there are people who are trained to deal with emotions. There are people who can help you understand how is it that all of the feelings work and just help you.
Yeah, I totally get that. Thanks a lot. And I have another question that question is from a friend of mine. So she's asking, what if someone likes you and you like them as well, but they're not ready to take an initiative? So what would you do? So would you take so should you take an initiative, or should you wait for it?
Okay. I need more thoda sa explanation on that.
She basically wants a relationship.
Okay. Does she like somebody?
Yeah, I guess.
Does the person like them back?
Not sure at all.
So maybe, ask. A lot of the things in life can be resolved by asking questions, clarifying, and making sure you have proper consent.
Yeah, okay. Thanks a lot.
Right.
Okay, thank you so much for all these great answers, Utkarsha. I just made a small poll related to all the questions people had here. So I will be launching it and you can answer. I can't see who is answering, like it's anonymous. It's just some random questions which came up
I
during the
never
session.
knew Zoom had a poll option. It's very cool, yeah.
Yeah, you can vote.
It's only for, the premium accounts. So yeah, guys, I've also dropped the link for Utkarsha's Instagram account. Do follow her for more such insights and also for professional help.
Yeah, also you can download the Rahi app for help or community, or if your question was unanswered here, you can just ask on the Rahi app and we'll be happy to get someone to help you or help you ourselves. So
also, I feel like there are like a bunch of questions which are unasked. So again, if you want therapy appointments, you can always DM another light. I will drop in an email. Okay. Okay, I think I sent a direct message to somebody. Where do I send it to everybody? Yes.
Just change the two.
Yes. Okay. If you have any therapy appointment query, please feel free to drop in an email in either of the, like, utkarsha.alc is my private email, Another Light is the company ka email. You have Another Light ka page, counseling, like Another Light counseling ka Instagram page. You can DM us, we'll get back to you. Might take some time, but we'll get back to you. So that if you want therapy appointments, you want to see how it works, you want to know if therapists can help you with your concerns, reach out. Okay, I think we're done here. Also, I have a session right after this, so I'm really sorry. This has to be very, very edge to edge, like cut to cut.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Utkarsha. And Yamin, if you have an ending note, go ahead.
Yeah. So it was a very great session, I must say that, and most of the queries were resolved. So on this note, I'd like to quote that no relationship is all sunshine, but two people can share one umbrella and survive the storm together. So yeah, thank you for your presence. And on this note, we end today's session. Thank you everyone for your presence.
Be safe. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay,
and
bye.
people